it has been an incredible day after what's been an incredible few weeks and a complete transformation of Afghanistan. I mean, the day began with the city basically being under siege. People knew that we were heading in that direction since the fall of all of these provinces. We saw the build-up of this momentum as the Taliban seemed to get the support of various armed factions, of which there are many in Afghanistan. We saw them grabbing equipment, brand new Humvees and vehicles. We saw them opening up prisons, letting out Taliban prisoners who then apparently joined the cause, joined by other people who seemed to switch sides. So this has been building, and people here in Kabul have been watching all of this with growing unease, and then it sort of culminated with the beginning of this Sunday, looking at the city under siege, and then reports starting to emerge of Taliban fighters actually coming into the city itself, and you could sense a kind of a palpable increase in the level of tension. We were out in the streets watching people drawing money out of ATMs that were empty, or trying to get into banks and get money out, and it increased the amount of clamour to try to get hold of US dollars, and there simply, in most cases, were none, or people who were going out to stores to buy things, suddenly it increased their pace. So it increased the whole tension level throughout the day, and gradually into this evening we have now seen Taliban figures and characters out on the street, whereas we had an assurance at the start of this Sunday that they would hold back, they would not come into Kabul itself, but then on the pretext, right or wrong, that there was looting going on, and there has been cases of looting in Kabul, we see those Taliban people on the streets taking over largely the jobs that had been until now done by ordinary policemen. In many cases, those policemen simply changing their uniforms for civilian clothes and drifting away. And it's easy when we talk about the Taliban to think of one big organization, like a big army or a big civil service with different tiers and structures, etc. And it isn't really like that. Yes, there is a Taliban leadership and a command, but especially as you get down to more localized levels, it is more splintered, and there are different groups, etc. So, you know, you have to look at it, that what the Taliban will do in one part of the country may be different to the Taliban in another part of the country, but it does seem to have different faces. And, you know, in other parts of Afghanistan, there are reports during especially the past few weeks and months of this increased upsurge in violence, of fighting between it and government forces, of various atrocities, human rights abuses, war crimes being carried out by some units of the Taliban. I mean, there does appear to be telephone evidence of that uploaded onto social media, which many human rights groups, international organizations have said should be investigated, and these war crimes should be investigated and the people held to account. I think we're probably going to see a different face of the Taliban here in Kabul, because, of course, this is a far more public stage. It is far more public and easily visible to the outside world than it was 20 years ago, thanks to communications and all the rest. And so they will, I think there is a sense or an expectation. We could, of course, be wrong. We've been so surprised by what's taken place thus far, but there is an expectation that they will be acting differently. They will be behaving, if you like, because they will realize that this is more of a world stage. The world is watching them and seeing what administration they will create.